So right after we recorded that really helpful educational webinar, Connie, FDA put out some really important final guidance. It's kind of a flurry of them. And so we're so happy and grateful that you're willing to take the time to come back and talk a little bit more and share some insights on those with our audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah. So the first couple of guidances that I want to talk about were the compliance policies that FDA put out, one on the enhanced requirements and one on verification. Can you help our audience understand the impact of those compliance policies and explain the stabilization period that FDA established?
Sure. This past year was such a critical year, and FDA looked for opportunities to hear directly from members of the supply chain. Those are trading partners and other stakeholders that have played key roles in DSCSA implementation. And so whether it was an FDA public meeting or a docket where we received public comments and feedback, there were other opportunities like PDG workshops and other industry conferences that we were able to connect with the trading partners themselves and some of their business partners to really understand the progress and also the challenges. And so while we heard about great progress and we really are encouraged by that, everybody really needs to be proud about that we've done so much since 2013. There obviously were some implementation challenges, and recognizing that certain members of the supply chain maybe were at different levels of adoption and even capabilities, it made sense for us to issue these compliance policies. And the compliance policies, describe the agency's intention regarding enforcement of the requirements, particularly those that we refer to as those enhanced drug distribution security requirements in Section 582 G1 of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Those are the requirements that get us to enhance product tracing and enhance verification. And what these compliance policies do is they establish the stabilization period. And the importance of the stabilization period is from November 27, 2023 to November 27, 2024. This is the time when trading partners and other stakeholders really should not only continue to work towards getting those requirements in place, but also it allows time for them to troubleshoot and really work out any problems with their business partners, and mature their systems and processes so that we can have successful implementation of those enhanced drug distribution security requirements.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think industry's been grateful for it. And I love the way that you framed it as a stabilization period, right? I've heard people talk about you can't stabilize something you're not actively using and working on, right? You can't just sit back and wait. This is about actively using it. Your systems still need to be up and on and running. What FDA has done, I think, right, is just make sure that people have the flexibility to work through those challenges that you note without that risk of having to jeopardize patient access, because we all recognize how complex those systems and processes are and are going to be kind of during that year of stabilization. So I know PDG is grateful. I think everyone is grateful for that type of flexibility that FDA has afforded.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, one thing to point out, one thing that we always heard about is that it was challenging for the supply chain to sometimes test out some of these systems and processes. Well, now you're going to be able to do this with your operations, your day-to-day operations, and with real operational data. And I think that's going to help in that process of troubleshooting and validating different systems and processes. A couple other key points to note is, and their guidance has spelled this out as well, is the agency's expectations on the supply chain. We really strongly encourage every trading partner to continue their implementation, that these compliance policies should not be interpreted as any reason to stop what you're doing. You need to continue that progress. And as I mentioned before, we are very encouraged by that progress. So I just want to make sure that folks understand that, this is the stabilization period is there to help you, but to help you to continue to implement.
Yeah, I think that's a message we're all trying to get out, and I'm grateful that you're willing to help us try to get that out, Connie.
Right. In regards to the stabilization period, trading partners should use this time to continue to build and validate their interoperable systems and processes and make sure that they're able to manage their products and also manage their data while they're continuing to be able to provide um, medication, prescription drugs to patients. Also, we want to note that what this means is trading partners should use current methods to exchange and store their transactional documentation about the products and the ownership of those products. And also recognize that the compliance policies really only apply to those requirements, those enhanced drug distribution security requirements in Section 582. It doesn't apply to all the other DSCSA requirements that are currently in effect and that remain in effect even after November 27, 2023. So all those requirements related to lot level product tracing, but also verification, right? These are very important steps for dealing with suspect and illegitimate product.